Please help me welcome Mr. Brian Tracy. Welcome, Brian.
Thank you, Michael. That was great. Thank you. I have some good news for you. More people are going to make more money in the next few years than have been made in all the history of the American economy. We are living at the very best time in all of human history, in the very best country in all of human history, with the fastest growing economy in human history. We have a $12 billion economy. It's growing about $500 billion a year, and every penny of that is going through the hands of the salespeople, and my job is to help you close your fingers so that some of it sticks. Your job is to learn what you need to learn to take advantage of it. Most people have great goals. I want to increase my income and lose weight and get out of debt and be thin and happy and healthy and have a wonderful family. But then they decide, but before I start, I'm going to take a vacation to a beautiful place called Someday Isle. And in my estimation, 80% of the population lives on Someday Isle. Someday I'll lose some weight, and someday I'll read that book and listen to that program and join the Yes Network, and someday I'll get out of debt, someday I'll increase my income, but it's always Someday Isle. If you want to be a great success, there's one simple rule, is vote yourself off the island for life. If you decide you're going to do something, do it. You know, they've done dozens and dozens of studies over the years. They find that there's one major difference between successful people and unsuccessful people. Is successful people launch. They start. They get on with it. They just do it. Unsuccessful people get the same ideas and the same information, but they've always got an excuse for not starting. Now, 95% of what you do or don't do in life is controlled and determined by your habits. And so successful people have good habits, and unsuccessful people have bad habits. If you do something repeatedly over and over again, you develop a habit. Well, what we find is that you can develop a habit with regard to taking action. Successful people, they hear a good idea, they take action quickly. Pretty soon they develop the habit of hearing a good idea, taking action. Hearing a good idea, taking action. Almost like a Pavlovian response. That's a good idea, and they try it out. Now here's an important point. Nothing works the first time. When you try something new, it probably won't work. When you try something new several times, it probably won't work. And the turning point in my life came when I would hear good ideas, and I was so eager to be successful in selling. I would run out and try the ideas, and they wouldn't work. I'd try a way of getting an appointment or answering an objection or closing a sale. It wouldn't work. And my natural response, and I think just to be disappointed. And then I realized nothing works, at least the first few times. So I decided I would try a new idea 5 or 10 times before I passed judgment on it. I would not just try it once and quit like most people do, and that changed my whole life. It was a turning point in my life because I realized from then on, if you've got a good idea and you've got a good goal and you want to double your income and improve the quality of your life, and you have to try new things in order to get new results, it's not going to work the first time. So you say, well, that didn't work, try something else and try something else and try something else. Now, if you try, only 2 things can happen. What are they? Succeed or fail. If you succeed, you do more of it. If you fail, you learn from it, get smarter, and try it again. So you cannot lose by taking action. You can only lose by not taking action. I think the great majority of people surrounded by the greatest opportunities in the best country in the history of man on earth who don't succeed are people who are on the island. You've always got a reason for not taking action. And if you delay taking action repeatedly over and over again, you develop the habit of never taking action. You develop the habit of procrastinating and holding back and so on. Now, I hired a consultant one day to come into my company. He charged me several $1,000s. He left me with a crummy t-shirt and this graph. And this graph actually explains success and failure in life, and it really is the basis for what we're going to talk about today. And the graph is pretty simple, and it really opened my eyes. So this is the graph of financial success and failure in life. And what you start off with is everybody starts off at 0, and this is the graph of income. So some people make 10,000, some people make 20 and 30 and 50 and 70, 80, 90, 100, 250, and so on. Here's the first thing that I learned, is where you are on the income graph is where you have decided to be. Each person has decided to earn what they are earning today as a result of the things that they have done or the things that they have failed to do. Sometimes it's the things that you have failed to do that are costing you the most today. You failed to take the course, listen to the program, read the book, try the new methods, attend the seminar, and so on. If people say, well, I didn't do anything. Yes, that's your problem, sir. You didn't do anything. That's why you're sitting there. So we are where we are and what we are because we have decided to be there. Now, this was a big shocker to me because all my young life, I thought all my problems were determined by other people. It was my parents and my bosses and the economy and the market and the competition and the prices and everything else. It was only when I realized it was me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. that I was able to take charge of my life. And I'll talk about this in a minute. Now, this is the graph of time. These are the years of your life. And this is the amount that you end up at the end of your life. This is becoming a major issue in America. 77 million baby boomers are approaching retirement right now, and about 40, 50, 60% of them do not have a pot to you-know-what in or a window to throw it out of. The great majority of Americans, the average American approaching retirement age has a net worth of $31,000, plus their pensions, which is why the pension issue is such a major issue today, because people have nothing else. Well, this is the way life works. You start off earning something at your first job. They pay you whatever they can. And then your financial life, for most people, their financial life is like a bad month on the NASDAQ. It's up and it's down, and it's up and down. And they make a little money, and they're out of the money, they're in the money, they're out of the money, they're broke, they're making a lot, they're making a little, they're making a lot, they're making a little. It's like this. Sometimes they're the windshield, sometimes they're the bug. All right? And here's where they end up with, as a result of experience plus luck. This is where most people end up with in life. And the average for about 80% of the population is a 3% increase over the course of their lifetimes. And by the way, I have some good news for you. Everybody here is in the top 10% in America today. And the reason is because you're here. Because only the top 10% of professionals ever come to a seminar like this. The other 80 or 90% of people in our field always have a reason not to go. They always have a reason not to read the books. They don't have the time. They know all that stuff already. Sometimes people say to me, oh, I know all that stuff already. I say, well, geez, you must be awfully rich. Wow. And of course, they look away because they got holes in their shoes and they took a bus to work. The fact is that the most successful people of all are the ones that come to these courses. Statistically speaking, it's always the top 10% who come to these courses and are eager to learn more because they recognize that the only way that you can earn more is to learn more. So they're always reaching out for new information. There's never a guarantee that you'll learn something, but there's one guarantee that if you don't come, you won't learn anything. So you're in the top 10%. But imagine you're driving across the farm roads with no road signs and no road maps. In other words, there's no way to tell where you are. Well, even if you're driving a brand new Mercedes-Benz, engineered beautifully in every respect, wonderfully made, if you're driving a brand new car but you're lost on the back roads with no road signs and no road maps, you'll never make any progress. My point is that your mind is like a Mercedes-Benz. You are smart, you're intelligent, you have potential beyond limit. They say you could not use all of your potential if you had 100 lifetimes. They say, you've heard it said, people use about 10% of their potential. I've studied this for almost a quarter of a century. The average person uses about 2% of their potential. They're saving the rest up for some good reason. But we're getting by. What we're accomplishing in life today is with about 2% of our mental potential. When Einstein died, his brain was put into a jar of formaldehyde at Princeton University, where it was discovered some years later, and it has been then parceled out and sent out to scientists to analyze. They say that Einstein, considered the greatest genius of the 20th century, never used more than 15% of his mental potential in his entire life. And you and I use considerably less. So the point that I was making is that the potential that you have is inevitable. When I say to double your income, people say, I'd like to double my income, and I doubt it. I doubt it. Are you kidding? You could probably earn 3, 4, 5, 10 times as much as you're earning today. And by the way, anybody who's earning 10 times as much as you're earning today was at one time earning what you're earning today. Okay? And then they did something differently which enabled them to increase their income. So let's say you're on this back road and you're driving along and you say to your navigator, boy, you know, this is lousy. There's always too much month at the end of the money. We worry about money all the time. If we blow a tire, it's a major disaster in our family. We make big minimum payments on our credit cards. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Come on. Don't look at me so sanctimoniously. You know what I'm talking about. We've all been there, as I've been there. And you say, well, what can we do? We say, well, honey, every so often through the trees, I see a freeway. I see nice cars are whipping along that freeway. If we could just get off these back roads and onto that freeway over there, we could really make a lot of progress. Well, the freeway is people who are whipping along in life, making great livings, having great lives, beautiful homes, houses, cars, and so on. And they're whipping along. Well, how do you get onto the freeway? Well, you find a way across country, and that's what we're going to do today. Find a way to get onto the freeway. And once you get onto the freeway, you can put your pedal to the metal, and you can really whip along. And this is where you get with knowledge plus skill. With knowledge plus skill. Now, here's an important point. A person driving a rusted-out jalopy that's belching smoke with the wheels falling off on the freeway is going to make greater progress than a person driving a brand-new Mercedes-Benz on the back roads. My point is that people on the freeway are not necessarily smarter or better than you are. In fact, the rule is that no one is smarter or better than you. You have as much talent and ability and intelligence as you could possibly use an entire lifetime, but they're on the freeway and you're on the back roads. Once you get on the freeway, you can start to move. And on the freeway, notice this, is that every single space of every single period of your life, you'll be making more money, and at the end of your life, you'll be worth vastly more.